Curtis A reached out to me, said make a theme song for my show. Said alright, just give me all the details, man. And my homie says he don't know. Well, if you're gonna pay me big bucks, cause I might should have something to say. He said, you know what I bring, I'm the customizing king, nothing else matters anyway. So is he gonna have guests? I don't know. Is he gonna go live? I don't know. What time will it be? What will you see? I'm pretty much in the dark, but I can guarantee he'll be customizing action figures, getting paint all on his fingers. It's art by Akerman. It's art by Akerman. Tips and tricks and conversation, sharing his gift with every nation. It's art by Akerman. Art by Akerman. You best get ready, cause now it's time for Art by Akerman.
Welcome, folks, to another episode of How'd They Do That. I have got a very special friend here to talk today, and we're just going to bring him right on because it's my buddy, Emil Wickman. Emil, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. Hi, buddy. Nice
How's
to
it
see
going? You doing good?
Doing good. Really relaxing holiday
That's good.
season right now. Yeah. The most relaxed I've been in long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure when this will air, but we are filming this right before it's 12/29, so it's just before New Year's. We're in that kind of in-between period of Christmas and New Year. So, yeah, I'm just kind of taking it easy as well. So this will be a fun conversation.
That's awesome.
So I've done a few of these, How'd They Do That, and I wanted to get you on because you do something that I don't think as many people do. Like, there's a lot of customizers out there. There's people that pop and swap, people that paint, but you do a lot of modifying of Legion's parts in order to make things work for a certain look that you're trying to achieve. So I wanted to kind of talk about that today, and we're just going to get right into the slideshow here. So
Sure.
The one that I picked out was the Jinx that you just recently did. So for anybody that's not aware, Jinx is a character on a video game called League of Legends. Recently, she's been featured in a series called Arcane on Netflix, which is most excellent. I think we would both recommend that, correct?
Yeah. To everyone.
Yeah, it's great series. And so you came up with this tribute figure that you wanted to do. And you did some unique things in here that I wanted to discuss, and some things that I just recently found out that you changed that I wasn't even considering. But so let's kind of get through this. So, this is one of the main pictures that I first saw in this, and I was just blown away because that hair specifically does not exist in the Legion's world. And so I didn't know what that was or how you did that. But then there's some other things as well. And just kind of going to the next slide here. So the first picture there, I'm guessing this is where you're initially putting parts together and just kind of seeing what the overall look is going to be like. Is that kind of what's going on there?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I actually did some painting over this later on as well. So yeah.
Gotcha. Like in Photoshop?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then the second picture there, which is one that I didn't even realize from the finished pictures, but it looks like you have, taken a set of armored 2.0 legs and then shaved them down to make it into kind of a bare skin under the knee pad. So can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, that is exactly what I did. I started with an X-Acto knife and just cut off the pointy parts that are sticking out, and then I used these, and I think you've talked about these in the past as well.
Some sanding sticks.
Yeah. Sanding sticks, yeah, with different friction, and just I've been sanding them down and to try to get them really smooth. And cool thing is that was actually the color that was the plastic was in.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So it got it pretty close to what you needed anyway.
It was, yeah. But then in this case, I went with a very, very pale skin color, so it's
right. Very cool.
Works.
So here's some finished pictures, so we can see those legs finished, and we can see the hair. Which, if we, look from this last picture, it looks. Tell us what you're using there. What are you using for those braids there?
Well, we all get a lot of those when we get our figures,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the straps,
The
the
twist
plastic
ties.
metal
Yeah.
straps that the figures are attached to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's attaching the figures in the boxes, and
Gotcha.
then I braided them.
Interesting. And now those typically are like metal on the inside with like a plastic sleeve on the
Yeah,
outside. Did you use the whole thing with the plastic, or did you take the plastic off?
I used everything with the plastic
Gotcha.
because I figured. I mean, I wanted the braids to be slightly thicker as well. I didn't want
Hmm.
them to just be the metal,
Yeah.
and I was hoping also that the paint would stick a little bit better.
Hmm.
The hair is it's braided, and then it's primed, painted, and paint got loose, so I repainted, and and then I sealed it actually. So that's one of the few figures that I started using sealer
Mm.
because I really needed some for those braids.
Yeah. It came out beautiful. I mean, it looks fantastic. So,
Thank you.
and then it looks like you did some sort of modification on the gun as well.
Yeah, I took from the standard sniper rifle looking weapons. I cut the tops off from three of those and drilled holes in Vorga's gun
Hmm.
and then put them in there. And it sounds maybe a little bit simple, just drill holes, put them in there, but that was tricky. I really couldn't. It took some time to get them pointing in the right direction, and um,
Yeah.
but
I,
that's
I
what they are.
I always think it's interesting when I find out like what parts and stuff that you used on a figure, because I don't know that people always realize like how many figures you're taking apart or using parts of in order to make one custom. Like, it's not just, you grab a figure out of the box and you use it and that's it. Like there's multiple things going on. So 3 sniper rifles is, I mean, that's a lot of people that you left without their guns.
Yeah, but they'll just have
Uh,
to do with something else, because
right.
and that is the thing when I do customs in general.
Hmm.
I've said this multiple times, but I strive to use um, the original Legion's parts as much as I can.
Hmm.
Love that. Love the challenge in that, and I mean, I love the figures, so I love playing with those parts. And so doing these braids and doing that weapon, that of course is heavily modified,
Hmm.
but to me it's still like I allow myself to do some modifications.
Hmm.
um but I'm always happy when I can use the original parts in some way or another.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
like a problem solving technique. Like, if you were dumped on a deserted island, and you only had certain resources at your disposal, like how do you get by and stuff? It's kind of like that. Like,
Yes.
you're saying, you're putting these limits on yourself to say, hey, if I stay within these legions parts and I can modify them, but I don't use something that's from another line, I don't use something that's that I can just sculpt in ZBrush and 3D print. If
Yeah,
I'm sticking to these parts, how can I make this look like that character?
exactly. And since they are tributes, then I mean, if I would sculpt the exact head of a character, that would be, I mean, honestly, that would also be copyright infringement and stuff like that. I don't want to do that. That's not part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely strive to make them look similar to their what they're meant to be tributes to.
Hmm.
But I mean, I want. I mean, there are people who don't like the figures I do because they are not exact the character.
Hmm.
I think that's the main goal. So it's I guess it is for people who are both fans of the Legion's lines, and
Gotcha.
then perhaps they like Jinx, and then they appreciate the mix.
Yeah, and I was talking about this recently with Joe Martinez. I did one of these with him. And I said, like, for me, if I do a tribute typically the reason why I do a tribute is I see a 3D sculpted head that somebody did, a lot of times from Wolf King, and I'll go, that reminds me of X, whatever the thing is that it triggers in my brain.
Yeah.
And then it goes, I want to bring that to life, So it's like, it starts with that 3D printed piece. And then I want to have everybody else see that piece the same way I do and create that tribute. Whereas you're kind of starting with nothing. You don't, I mean, maybe well, I don't know. Are you seeing it in the Legion's pieces? Maybe like when they reveal a figure, you go, hey, that's going to work great for whatever.
Yes, there are definitely two roads that I'm walking on when it comes to these ideas. I mean, first of all, I'm a super geek of a lot of different toys and TV shows and stuff like that. As we all are. Okay. So the love is both for the Legion's toys that I totally fell in love with when I first got them in hand.
Yeah.
And then we have all these other great characters that I also, love. And sometimes it can really be like, okay, I would really like to do a tribute to this character because I like this character so much. And then you start in that then you start that way and start looking for parts. What parts can I use for this?
Gotcha.
And sometimes, I mean, I have stuff on my desk here. I'm not going to show it right now, but they've been on my desk for a year or more. And it's like, that's not it. But then it's the best hobby in the world. So it's like, don't rush that, just
Right.
leave it there. But then there is this other way, like you're saying, that okay, I remember when the Elithia way was announced, and I saw the torso for Valak and Bardrick, and I was like, Dr. Doom, and those pauldrons, and that hood, and I was like, and then I actually started planning for that right away, and it's like, so I only had to wait like 1.5 or 2 years or something to get the parts.
Gotcha. And there is something to be said for just being patient, and sometimes it doesn't feel right. A part doesn't work or whatever, and rather than forcing it and not making it the way you want it to be patient for that inspiration or that thing to go in your brain, go, ooh, I know what'll work for this. And then, you're off to the races. Like, can you tell us a little bit about, any of those kind of moments where something just wasn't working out and then the right piece came along and it just unlocked that?
Oh, yeah, I should have. I mean, there are so many of these projects exactly like this, and I'm.
I can tell you one that I remember you telling me about was when you were doing your gambit and you were looking for that neck.
Oh yeah. That, I mean, but that was that when I was doing the gambit and just like, I need something here,
right?
And that was actually just me. I have boxes of parts, but you mostly like tend to play around with the parts you have near. So at that time, I had a lot of parts near, and I was just da 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 da. What? Oh, that's a really like that's a happy accident,
Right.
And I love the happy accidents, and there are more happy accidents than you would imagine, probably. Like and it's like, the more you play with the parts, new ideas pop up.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get back to that part of it in just a second, as far as like parts and modifying and that kind of thing. But also want to talk about the detailed paint job that you did on this as well. For the legs, the making that look like tights. And then also the tattoo work that, I'm guessing, just from knowing you and knowing, how you do certain things, I'm guessing you just freehanded all of that tattoo work, correct?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, do you sketch any of this out first? Do you kind of draw it on there? Is it's just you start painting and go to town? Like, tell us how that tattoo work goes.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have references, of course,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's a big lesson. A long time ago, I always thought that using references was cheating. You know, until I went to a game company and saw the concept artist room, and I saw all the reference material he has on the walls, and I was like, "Isn't this cheating?" And they were like, "What are you talking about?" And then it's like, stupid me, I had some kind of illusion that, of course, as an artist you should have everything here,
Yeah.
otherwise you're not good. And I was like, I've been so stupid my entire life, like what and so when I'm doing these, I f- I look for a lot of references,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to get, for the tattoos, for example, I wanted to find from different angles. And um, the Arcane show is, very popular, so there are a lot of stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to get some angles, so I get a good look of the tattoos, and then I just, okay, let's start with the dark blue here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to do, s- I started to do the outlines.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I wasn't worried that I was gonna paint within the lines. That's fine, because I was gonna use a lighter blue. So I just, went back and forth some. So what I really didn't want to do was go outside my initial plan, because that would ruin the skin tones, and the skin tones I wouldn't be able to redo, because the way I did it was like, the whole figure needs to be done this way,
Mm-hmm.
then I go with the tattoo. So I had to be careful. And I mean that sometimes you have to, oh, this line isn't straight, I
Yeah,
need
you got
to
to touch
make
it
the
up a little bit.
tattoo
Yeah.
slightly
Gotcha.
bigger, and then you do stuff like that. And then
Okay.
I went working on lighter colors after that.
So you went from the outside in,
Yes.
basically. Okay.
Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, I know I've done a very few tattoos, but typically what I'll do is draw the outline with a micro pen first, just
Okay.
try to get it right. And similar to you, it's like if I make a mistake to the inside, not too worried about it, but I don't want to make a mistake to the outside.
Yeah.
And then once I can visualize the shape on there, then that's when I pick up my paintbrush and I start painting it all in. But
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
this is
That's a
cool.
nice quiz. Yeah. Smart way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as talented as you, so I gotta do what I
We're
gotta
not
do.
we're not saying that. We're not saying that. We're just talking about different. So I mean, for the pants, for example, I,
Mhm.
I I started with one color, and then I went in with the other lighter color afterwards, and
Gotcha.
then just really tried to, I really wanted the lines to be straight, and I wanted the lines to be similar to both legs. Since
Mhm.
the lines are similar on both legs, I don't want them to be like big lines there and then small lines. So that was some planning. and
Did you,
and
like, measure them out, or you just kinda eyeballed it and
I
made sure that
eyeball
they
I
looked right?
eyeballed
Gotcha.
them, was looking at the muscles and stuff like that. Um, and after that was done, of course, it looks clean. But then I think you can see that on the image to the left, that there's a lighter dry brush on top of it,
Mhm.
on one of her thighs.
Yeah.
Um, and that is the scary part. Once you've done all these clean lines, and it's like, I need to roughen this up a little bit.
Mhm.
So now I've spent all this time making these lines, and now the chance to make it better
Mhm.
or ruin it.
Right.
But
Yeah, I've
but
definitely
I
had some of those where I do this, like, really detailed, crisp paint work, and then I
yeah,
try to, either dirty it up or rough it up, or at one point, there was one that I was working on for Tomas that I tried to do a bunch of, like, ice and snow on it and stuff, and then you're wondering as you're doing that, like, "Am I ruining all the work that I just did?" You know?
that's
And it
always the
is
question.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also one of the fun parts. I
Mhm.
mean, because when you're painting on the laptop or something, you can always just Control Z,
Yeah.
just forget the last thing. And this is a little bit liberating to throw yourself out there and like, there's no coming back from this. You can plan as
Right.
much as possible, but then it's like, and that often happens when I do something that there is a mistake happening.
Mhm.
It's not like I'm doing that, oh, it turned out perfect. No, 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 no. Darn it, I got too much paint over there, or I got something happening over there. and then while it dries, I have to think about how can I incorporate this so that it looks like it was on purpose,
Hmm.
like it was part of the design and not just like that was a mistake thing. And that's also liberating, and not pretending that everything is perfect, but trying to go with the flow and enjoying it.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to pull up these images because this is really, I think, kind of an extreme version of what we're talking about with, modifying these sculpts. Because in these images here, you took a purple or cat head and you wanted to make like a bear, but you
Yes.
didn't have a bear sculpt. And so, like on the left here, we see where you've not only cut off the front of the mouth and everything, the mouth and the nose, but you've also kind of carved some of the sides down a bit. And then you pulled it out, and I'm guessing you used some supports there. It looks like maybe some paper clips or something. Is that right?
Actually, the supports there are also the straps,
Oh,
bendy
okay.
wire straps, because
Gotcha.
then I could do that, and then we have supports, but I could also adjust it a little bit.
You got some flexibility. Okay.
Yeah.
So then from there, it looks like you used, green stuff and then sculpted the gap as well as just like extra fur and stuff there, which, man, I tell you what, the detail that you got into that green stuff of the fur, like just the fur details, is pretty freaking amazing. Can you talk a little bit about, first of all, the idea to turn a cat into a bear? And then kind of walk through this process a bit.
Okay, so first, what available lead-ins parts do we have? We don't have a bear head,
Mhm,
and there are plenty of amazing 3D sculpted bear heads that would be so easy to just order that, put it on. Okay,
mhm.
that's like, how different is a cat and a bear? And I was like studying that and just, okay, can I use the purpler head? Can I use the purpler head just as it is? Or and so this took me down a route of looking at a lot of different kinds of bears, and that was interesting. And I figured, okay, I need to make this longer. That's one thing. I need to make it longer. I need to make the ears rounder, and
Mm.
basically the green stuff was, it's always to me that borderline of am I cheating now? but but it felt, I was very happy with the result here, to trying to get the a bear look from a cat. There are a couple of layers of green stuff. Not that I've done a layer and waited for it to dry, which would be smart, but I
Mhm.
put a layer, started sculpting it, put another layer on, kept sculpting it, and the idea was that with the paint on, that it would fit with the rest of the sculpt. You know.
So what tools are you using to sculpt while the green stuff is in the process of hardening, and you're going through here and making fur and just carving details and stuff? What are you using?
I have actually a couple of with a plastic tip. That's a very bendy but sturdy but bendy plastic tip that
Okay,
can be pointy. So it's like the point would be like this when you sculpt it. So,
gotcha.
but then there's another that are more straight line, but it's still bent. So it's more like you put it on some sculpting. What's it called? Sculpting wax or something.
Okay.
So
So
because
are
we
these
could.
just like sculpting tools that you use? Like they're
Yes, it
for
is.
sculpting?
It
Okay.
actually is. Yeah. Um, and the sculpting Vaseline, maybe it's called sculpting Vaseline.
Okay.
So it's just not to get the tools stuck to it. You
Oh,
just
okay.
do it a little bit, and then you can sculpt it without making it stick. That's
Interesting. Okay.
and that's a good thing. And then I use, whatever metal things. I have some carving tools with a pointy edge. I have whatever I have on my desk that is pointy, and then just I can do stuff. So use whatever you want. But I like the plastic bendy tips for to getting the bigger surfaces.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, this came out fantastic. That fur looks so good. And then if we, look at kind of the finished look, like you see from taking it to a cat, to a bear, like I don't know anybody that would look at that bear and go, yeah, that used to be a cat. Like, it just it's amazing what you did there.
Thanks,
So
Curtis. And of course, you see that that it's different, this lower part. But
yeah,
if you look at a bear, it's also different. So yeah,
right.
that's why I look at the reference material, because the hair is, longer here around it. So it's
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and then how it's like more smooth a little bit on top of the
yes,
nose and stuff, and yeah, that came
yeah.
out fantastic.
It might be actually that the middle picture there, maybe it's not. Maybe I went in afterwards and adjusted some more, you know, sanding it down something more. I
Gotcha.
don't remember exactly, but that's the basics.
And I love the ideas that you rounded the ears too, because that's not something I would have thought about. Like the nose, definitely, but rounding the ears, and that's kind of where probably those reference photos and all that comes in. You're like, okay, here, what are the changes I need to make to get from here to there?
And
So,
that was tricky. I was looking at a lot of different, comparing cat, bear, cat, bear. What? Okay, I know I have a cat. I
mhm,
need a bear. What are the main differences here? What do I need to do? And that was, well, it was a one of those fun projects that's also frustrating, that it
yeah.
takes time, because I know that there are differences, but are they really that big, or are the small changes doing a big difference?
hmm Well, and I've got one more that I wanted to discuss, and the reason why I pulled this up, this next one that we're going to look at, is because you told me something last year that really like unlocked something in my brain. Like the way that I've looked at customizing since you told me this, it has been like completely different. And that you had said something about focusing on the silhouette of things. Like use the parts that you have to create the silhouette that you're looking for, and then do whatever modifications or whatever you need from there to get it to the finished look.
Mhm.
And I think we see that here, but then the next one, you created this Ahsoka, and I, I don't know anybody that would go, hey, you know what? I want those like, tendrils or whatever coming down on her. You know what I could use? I could use an upside down demon head. you know, like I just don't know that most people would think that. But I think when I think back to what you said about the silhouette, that's probably
Yeah,
what happened here, right? Where you looked at
yeah.
this and go, wow, if this was upside down and backwards, this would actually work.
Yeah, because that's when you're playing with parts. It sounds so,
Mhm.
but it's like you're sitting on your desk and you're thinking about different customs at the same time, and then you're just like, "What?" Kind of,
Yeah.
it's really playing with parts.
So we see kind of where you put the two heads together, the one backwards and upside down, the other one the normal way. And then we see through the steps here where you cut off the excess, right? And then you start adding the green stuff. You add a headband to it, you prime it, and next thing you know, like we've got this finished look. Um, yeah, that's just amazing.
And this is one of those projects where I'm sitting and thinking, my own made up rules. Like,
Mm,
am I cheating too much here? I'm adding a lot of green stuff at the top. The big shape or not, but and then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna do this anyway. No
mhm.
one has reacted to me cheating. It's just me, but it's like you have your
Yeah, they're your own
stupid
self-imposed
ideas.
rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that's awesome though, to take two heads and put them together and come up with this look is not something I think most people would think about. And not only that, but that red demon head is one from the heads pack. It's not like you just got, 15 of these things laying around. Like you probably only had one of those, if I had to guess,
I
right?
actually had more.
Okay.
Yeah. But
You
I
must have
I'm
bought some
all
head
out of the
packs.
dwarf head.
Gotcha. But yeah, this is just unbelievable stuff. And this, I would say just want to encourage folks out there, like try some stuff. It can be scary, especially if you're dealing with the only one that you have. But you can come up with some really cool stuff. So, and it's fun to play. It's fun to try these things and, see what you're able to come up with. But yeah, any other advice that you'd give to folks that are just, trying to do this, try to modify Legion's parts to create something?
Yeah, well, first of all, major thing always, I mean, have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoy this as a hobby, I mean, so that is really the number one thing. I've been striving for that the whole year, every year, like to
Mm-hmm.
have fun. I failed a little bit closer to Legion's Con, and I was like, what is this stress? I don't like this, and that's avoid that. Have
Mm-hmm.
fun. So try to do that as much as possible. And I mean, don't gamble with your single parts, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah, start customizing with the parts that maybe wow, I have 5 of this somehow. Start play
Mm-hmm.
with those parts.
Yeah, I last year when I was working on the Oliphant custom, a lot of that started with I was messing with spears and back adapters because I had freaking a million of them, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with all these spears and back adapters. Like I could be using them for currency at this point. And then I found out that the spears actually fit inside the holes of the back adapter, like the wing adapters. And then I was like, can I do something with this? Like, is there some that, and I ended up making that the floorboard of the carriage. But yeah, I mean, if you've got something, you got, let's say, a plethora of shields or swords or something, try something on those. Try something. If you got something where maybe you bought a bunch of Goblin Legion builders and you only use the one type of head, and so you've got the extra one, you can experiment with taking the ears off or taking, doing different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, try some things, play around and see what happens. So
And don't cut yourself.
yeah. Use a sharp X-Acto knife and make sure you don't cut yourself.
Yeah,
So
and you don't, if you accidentally glue your fingers together when you're working on a small piece, I'm just gonna say that sucks, but it happens.
I will say I picked up something from another customizer just recently. Is Alan that works? He's on Oz's Clubhouse a lot. He's the one that I think I might have showed you. Yeah, when he was in the customizing studio where he did that big snake mountain. And one of the things he told me is that super glue won't stick to parchment paper, which I never thought of. So like if I'm ever gluing two pieces together, I just take a piece of parchment paper and I hold it around the two pieces that I'm gluing together, and I never get my finger stuck in. I used to get my finger stuck to everything I was gluing, and I haven't for like 3 weeks now because he gave me that tip. I'm like,
Smart, awesome.
that's awesome. So yeah, the last thing I guess I would leave folks with is there's also a bunch of folks in the community that do this stuff. Make friends, bounce ideas off of people. There's a lot of times where I'll run something by Emil or Nate Armstrong or something. I'll say, hey, I'm trying to create this. Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think of this? So yeah, you use the folks around you as well as kind of sounding boards. So beautiful. Well, Emil, I appreciate your time. I know we went a little bit over what we normally do, but I think this is good stuff. I think this will help some people out. It's just a new way to look at parts. You don't have to just use them as is. You can definitely modify these things. I know another one, I mentioned Goblin Legion builders a bit ago. But I love like the gnomes and the mouse kits and stuff from Wolf King. But there's only so many of those smaller bodies, and they all pretty much have the same pauldrons, the same legs, the same torso, So it's like if you're going to make a bunch of gnomes, you're going to make a bunch of, mice or something. How do you make them look different? And these ways where you modify some of the armor, shaving some of the spikes down or adding something to it with green stuff. This is a great way to kind of just create some new looks with the same bodies. So beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I'm going to put you backstage and close out the show, and then I will see you in a second.
Bye.
There you go. Emil Wickman, everybody. Appreciate him joining me and just kind of giving you guys some pointers there. Play around, see what happens. Maybe don't use your last part if you're too scared, but man, I've seen Emil use some parts that I was like, man, I don't know too many people that would be cutting that up or doing that, but you know, that man, he can do some crazy stuff. So hope this helped out, and tune in to the next How They Do That. And until next time, keep creating, folks.